We're going to start all over. We're starting all over.
Yeah, it wasn't. It wasn't
That was
live.
the overture.
Oh, that was over. Did any of that go live?
None of it.
No, you
None of
can't
it.
overdo it all
But
again.
we
Okay.
got it now rather than 25 minutes from now.
Oh, yeah. And dang, it was, I thought we had a good start.
Do it again. Do it again. There's 9 people waiting, but it's. Ooh, it looks like something. There it is. There it is. You are on.
Oh, are we on? Okay.
Well, it looks like,
Okay, no, we're
okay,
up. Okay, we're on.
Okay.
Okay, we're on. Okay, let me introduce you. Eric. All righty. I'm Kim Coleman. I'm a candidate for Congress in Utah's 4th Congressional District, and I want to thank you for joining us again tonight. We are back by popular demand in our Facebook Lives every evening. We did move the time to 7 o'clock. That seems to be a better time for a lot of people, and we've got some changes. So in addition to that, you know, I am now a convention winner in the Utah's 4th Congressional District. So last time we talked to you, last time we went live, it was right before our Utah State GOP convention. So I did enter that convention with 7 of us running, and I left with 55% of the vote. We now, woohoo, yeah, so now we go on to the primary. So I'm still looking for your support out there. So this now, all Republicans get to participate in the primary, all registered Republicans. So if you're not registered, quickly register. There is a little bit of tactical stuff going on where there was an article in the paper a couple days ago where a prominent Democrat is encouraging other Democrats to register Republican to come vote in our primary. It's not even stealth. It's not even just secret, it's out there. It's in the newspaper. Democrats go register Republicans so we can choose their party's people. And yeah, it's not cool, but it's the law. It's allowed. It's just what it is. But so we've had some great Facebook Lives. We're kind of switching over a little bit to YouTube venue, also available live on Facebook. And we've had some great guests. We've had Andy Biggs. We've had Steve Moore, a lot of local elected officials as we've been talking about some of the policies and challenges around the COVID pandemic. And so tonight I am joined by a little bit more controversial figure. Are you okay with me to describe you as controversial? Well, you're not really. I don't think you're.
Whatever. Look, everybody says you say the things that I wish that I could say.
Well, you're not really controversial. You do say it. So.
Well, and the thing is I say things like either several weeks before everybody starts, or a couple months before everyone starts seeing. Sometimes I'm saying things a couple years before everyone starts saying them, and it's gotten me in a lot of trouble. But it's also who I am. It's like it's just a part of who I am, and sometimes I'm right, sometimes I'm wrong. I'm not always right with the answers, but I think one thing that we're missing in our culture right now is just different ideas, and the fact that we can disagree with each other and still love each other. Like that's the craziest thing that's happening right now with this COVID kind of split, like war, is that we can have these discussions without attacking each other personally, but we just talk about the principles and what are we missing? Because right now, I believe we are missing a huge area of common sense in how we're approaching COVID-19.
Okay. Well, I don't really consider you controversial. You are a truth teller, and you will say it like it is. So let me welcome Eric Moutsos, and so a lot of you already know a lot about him. He's got a pretty high profile as a citizen, as an outspoken citizen, and we definitely need more people speaking about public policy. You're a freedom fighter, and show us your shirt. I noticed your shirt. Freedom. And,
Well,
that's what
we're
it's
talking
about.
freedom, right? We're talking about freedom, and And I think that a lot of people miss that freedom and liberty aren't the same thing necessarily, meaning freedom plus morality equals liberty. And so we can have the freedom to do these things, but if we don't use correct agency and on proper principles, we don't have liberty. So for example, when I'm a former police officer, I used to take people to jail all the time, and they technically had their freedom. They got to a point where the only freedoms that they had left were to look right or look left out of my car. That was pretty much the only freedom they had, and it was because they violated certain laws that landed them in a cage. And so I think that's one of the reasons why our society is so messed up, because we don't run. We're a morally bankrupt society, and I've been a part of the problem myself. So I don't. I'm a hypocrite as well. But we don't understand. No, I mean it. We don't understand how true liberty can can happen without correct choices of that freedom, if that makes sense.
Okay, so let's back up. First of all, how do you and I know each other?
Okay, so Kim, so she was my representative when I lived in West Jordan. So I've since fled Babylon. I've come to Zion, and I think Salt Lake County's lost. It's gone. The Republic has been taken over. But that's why I'm so excited for Kim, because I see this hope of light again. I don't get behind candidates, by the way, a lot. Very, very rarely do I get behind candidates. Um, but I 150% get behind Kim Coleman, because she was my rep. Okay, so some of you that don't know my history, when I was a Salt Lake City police officer, around 2011, I want to say, my department ordered, our sergeant ordered us to arrest 5 people per day, misdemeanors per day. And at the time, I challenged that. I said, I don't think it's a good idea, Sergeant, and I'm not going to do it. And so everybody on my squad turned in 5, and they got to me, and we turned in 3, and I turned in 3 tickets. Well, long story short, he made me stay after shift to arrest 2 more people. I wouldn't do it. I recorded the conversation about us, about the police quotas, and that was the moment that my career started to go downhill. I never was written up one time in 7 years in the Salt Lake City Police Department as far as going to internal affairs. And then most know the story about the parade, the whole parade scandal. But the point that I'm trying to say is that when I went to Kim Coleman after I had left law enforcement, and I talked to her about this police quota thing, Kim Coleman listened to me. She actually listened. We talked for like an hour on the phone, and between her and Howard Stevenson, we brought forth a bill to ban police quotas in Utah, and I went and told my story up on the floor. I think there was like, I don't know if you remember, there was like 12 or 13 police chiefs in Utah who didn't didn't want the bill.
No.
And my whole thing was, well, why are you here talking that you don't want this? They were saying, well, we don't have any kind of quotas. Well, then why are you here? If you don't have police quotas, why are you against the bill, right?
So just state for us, what is the risk when there are police quotas? Really, how does it change, or how can it affect your mindset as a police officer when you're told, go get 5 today?
It's everything. Number one, it takes away our agency. It takes away our discretion as officers. Now we start, instead of looking at the public on how we can help them, we're now having to nitpick people for these ridiculous things, like standing on the sidewalk for longer than 2 minutes, or littering, whatever it is. We're now searching for reasons to stop them. And I truly believe that's one of the reasons why we have such discord between the police and the public, because all of these, not all of them, but most agencies have this massive amount of pressure for their officers to go out and kind of they kind of pick on the public in a way. So between traffic tickets, and everybody can feel it. Like when you get pulled over and you get a ticket, you can just feel it, right? It's like that does not seem right, because even if you've got a good story, even if you have this, that, if they have to hit their numbers, you're done. Like when I went over to the motorcycle squad, we had to do 20 tickets a day.
So, if it's when you get pulled over and you check the calendar to see, oh, it's getting to be the end of the month. And so why is there that incentive, or why is there that pressure for quotas?
Well, I think twofold. First, money, because a lot of these agencies are driven by money. Salt Lake City is one of those agencies. Um, the courts, the people from the courts would always come to the motorcycle unit and say, "We need more tickets. We need more tickets. We're not getting enough funding." And so I think it's incredibly dangerous when the police are used for revenue generators. And then the second is work. The only way that they can like measure you as an officer, the only way that they're actually measuring people is by your stats. So then if you want to get promoted and you want to move, you put in your resume to transfer units, the very first thing they look at is your stats. And if your stats aren't high, then you don't get picked up. So if you're a hard charger trying to get your career moved up the ladder, you just got to keep bugging people and racking up those stats, and that's what's wrong with it. It's money, and in my opinion, most police agencies they need to be more like firemen, and we need to respond when we're needed. We're supposed to serve and protect, and I think a lot of agencies they don't do it that way, but a lot of agencies do, and so that's why I was so excited about the police quota bill.
And we
Then
passed that. And we
we
passed that.
did, and so I think it's going to be up to a lot of Utah law enforcement officers to speak up when that continues to happen.
So I am proud of that bill. That made a lot of sense to me, and that is an example of so much of the legislation that we sponsor. At least for me, it comes from a citizen. That a citizen has reached out, a business has reached out and said, this is a problem. Talk to me about civil asset forfeiture.
Well, I just think it's very dangerous, in my opinion, when without going through a process, you're getting your stuff removed. I mean, even I don't know. To me, it never felt right. I remember on one of my cases, somebody ran from us. It was on a traffic stop. I think the guy had a warrant. And he ended up running, and I got an email internally that said, "Hey, we got his car. We got his car. And we got to keep his car." And I was just thinking to myself, like, that doesn't feel right to me. It just doesn't feel right.
Well, I have been a proponent of having limited, civil asset forfeiture and making sure that we haven't had our own perverse incentives to seize property and have property forfeited, especially when there's a federal connection to that seizure or the forfeiture. And those are two different things, seizure and forfeiture. But we've had, I think every year I was in the legislature, we had legislation to limit the ability for law enforcement to have property forfeited.
Right.
And it's very controversial because controversial is not really the term, but it can be conflicting where law enforcement wants more ability, the public wants less ability, and so kind of sometimes finding those balances where in public policy where you do need to allow law enforcement to be able to prosecute crimes, to fully investigate crimes through whatever point of the process where they have collected the evidence that is available, but then return property to owners, especially when an owner's not connected to an alleged crime. But I didn't know how much you might have dealt with that. But so you wrote a book.
Oh yeah.
Talk to us about your
Yeah.
book.
So I put it's a work in progress. It was a work in progress. It took a long time just because I'm not a writer. I'm semi dyslexic. I can't spell very well, but it came out really well. So it's called Dispatched, and I have it on Amazon, but I also have it on my website for free. So if you don't have any money, like if you just lost your job, like 30 million Americans did, you can go to ericmoutsos.com and you can actually read my whole book right from your phone. But if you want a hard copy, but it basically kind of takes you through a journey that my family and I went through when I lost my badge for discrimination,
Okay.
which was one of the worst experiences we've ever been through as a family.
And I've known you for quite a bit of that time. I didn't know you during, but not too long after. And yeah, I saw what it did. You know, you were still experiencing a lot of the discouragement, frustration, sadness, to lose your career and, put the uniform down, walk away. And that's hard. I've learned from a couple of stories similar to yours, how that impacts a whole family. Okay, so here's why we brought you on today, especially because you're making trouble again, Eric. What are we doing? What are you doing?
Well, when I saw that, look, I came to St. George because I wanted to hide from everything, and I just want to hide and I want to post funny memes. Like, is that hard in life? In life, is it that hard to want that? I just want to post funny memes. That's it. But I found out that we are not going to meme ourselves out of this mess. And so when I saw that Mayor Mendenhall had this draconian move to open up a hotline to snitch on your neighbor if you're not social distancing, literally using the police for her political agenda, because I believe it's a very strong political agenda. It's un-American, it's immoral, and I'm going to keep going. If she doesn't take down that hotline, I'm going to keep going up there. So anyway, I thought about like what can I do
Civil
instead of just
disobedience.
meme? Yeah, but I mean, but think about it. We're in America. We are now we're civil disobedience for exercising our First Amendment right by having a picnic in a park. Think about how gross that is. Like Jenny Wilson just put out a thing saying, or she just stopped the drive-in movies. Are you serious?
I didn't get that.
What?
I didn't get that at all. Well, okay. So you don't live here anymore, but you did. And does it surprise you that Salt Lake County mayor did this?
Not at all, because she's watching what these major kind of progressive states are doing, and so she wants to just lockstep with what they're doing, not even understanding that Utah is a completely different animal. It's like having people in Florida wear snow clothes because it's snowing in Utah.
Okay, so you just made this a partisan issue. Well, you didn't say Democrats, Republicans, but you said she's watching progressive areas. So it really is this response ideologically inspired, motivated?
What do you mean by that?
Well, you said that Mayor Wilson is taking her cues from other progressive
I
states.
believe that. Yeah, absolutely. I believe that's exactly what she's doing. Because what other data does she have? She's not going off of science. She's not going off of the actual true data in Utah. So where else is she going? It's like we're seeing these snitch lines. We're seeing these snitch lines open up in other states. Where did she get that idea? Where did Mendenhall get that idea to call the police and say, hey, my neighbor is not social distancing. Will you send the police? I'm serious. I'm serious.
No.
Where
No,
doesn't
it just sound facially absurd, though? Isn't it just facially absurd?
There is zero common sense, and what it's doing is it's scaring the people of Salt Lake City into their houses, and so these small businesses are dying. And so really, what we did was we had a picnic. We took about 2,000 people up, and we purchased food from their dying businesses. All of the dying businesses, because everybody's in their house hiding because the police are going to come. We purchased food, and we had a First Amendment rally picnic, which is, I think, the most prudent thing that we can do as Americans right now, by the way. Everyone thinks that like protesting the government is un-American, and I disagree. I think it's the most patriotic thing. That's how America was born. That's how we were born. And if we're not doing that, where are we? Like, what are you going to do if you're sitting in your house, this whole time not speaking up when you know that you should be doing something, and in 20 years, your grandkids say, "Well, what did you do?" Well, I posted some memes. Like, to me, it's unacceptable, and so I don't. I know, sorry. But to me, it's unacceptable. Like, we have to, in my opinion, we have to get out there and peacefully, safely, because look, people were saying that's really reckless what you were doing. You were out there having a picnic and you were, chanting USA. That's really reckless. And my answer is how much more reckless is it than going to Costco right now, standing in line for toilet paper? How much more reckless is it than in 6 months from now when we're at like a 35% unemployment and we're all standing in government bread lines because the economy has completely crashed, and COVID is still here. That's the irony. As soon as we all start flooding out, you're going to see numbers jump up, and you're going to see government try to do what they just did.
Okay,
And
so let's ask the fundamental question. How do you balance security with freedom?
well,
I think an early famous founder had a quote. So the people who would say you're being irresponsible and reckless,
mhm.
how do you balance safety, security, and freedom?
Well, you just look at the numbers. I mean, right now, the truth of it is, here's the truth, and people don't like this truth. But right now, with the numbers, the influenza is actually more deadly with a vaccine than COVID-19. That's the truth. Okay. Now that's hard to hear because of the response. And so I think the most prudent thing we can do is get out and actually start to trade and do exactly what we were doing. That is going to bring freedom. If we continue on this path of fear, in this unknown, who made up these rules? Who is making up these rules of social distancing, and where is the science coming from? Because right now nothing is backing it up. There is zero plan. All we're doing is watching our economy completely crumble. Nobody's talking about deaths of despair, which means every 1% of unemployment has been equated to 35,000 deaths between suicide, heart attack, alcohol, like liver problems. If we're at a 20% unemployment, we are going to have 500,000 dead Americans from deaths of despair just from unemployment. So let's talk about safety.
Okay, so if you've been watching our lives or following me at all, I've said this every night, and I'm going to say it again in case I grab a few new people. But a lot of people are asking these questions now. A lot of people are saying, can the government do this to me? Can the government say, hang a closed sign on your business, stay inside, go home? Can the government really do this? Can the government really come after me? Can the government really have my neighbors call a hotline? And I say yes, they can, as long as we let the government.
Yes, that's it. That's
As
it.
long as
That's
we
it.
let them. They work for
Look.
us, Eric. The government works for us. And
Hey, you said it. You said it. You said it. I didn't have to say it. The point is, this is our fault. Like, straight up, this is our fault. If we knew our rights to begin with, this never would have happened. But everybody, look, it's our fault for not being politically engaged, and that's my fault too. Like, it's everybody's fault. Like, it's not just the government's fault. If we knew the power of the individual right, it is my right to reach out my hand and shake somebody's hand in any circumstance. It is my right to go assemble under any circumstance. There's not a little footnote under the First Amendment that said except for coronavirus. There's not. And so if we don't exercise those rights, think about the gym. When you don't exercise, what do? You lose it, right? If we don't exercise our rights, we lost it. And so then very, very confused government officials like we have in the state of Utah right now, they think that they have the right to tell me what I can do with my family. And then they start pushing and pushing. But here's the irony. They're doing it in the name of safety. And it's wrong.
Okay, so when I've said, yeah, the government can do this as long as we let them, there is this Constitution sometimes that gets in the way of some people doing what they want to do. But again, that's up to us to enforce, protect our own liberties and help that Constitution remain live and valid in our lives. But, Eric, for me and you, some of these people are asking these questions for the first time. But for people like me and you, we ask them every day. Every day in my 6 years in the Utah House of Representatives, I'm asking that question. And right now, gosh, if there are any silver linings that we see in this, if there are any good things to come out of this, I like that people are asking that question. And I hope they continue to ask that question when we get through with, climbing out of whatever, whatever it's going to be in its duration. But, in the things that you have fought against, the things that I've worked with you on, Eric, is, those personal freedoms that might be infringed on because there's a law enforcement policy. And law enforcement, we want law enforcement in our communities to keep us safe, but we want to make sure that that power that comes with giving law enforcement authority is wielded properly and is properly constrained, and at all times respects our civil liberties and our constitutional rights. And so for someone like you to see police quotas and understand that that is a threat to an infringement of rights, you've seen it and you've fought against it. I've seen it, I've fought against it. And so I hope that, you and I have fought against little ways we've seen government at risk to infringe or actually infringe. And so while we're seeing a big example of this, where the government said, shut your business down and go home and don't go out in public and stuff.
Even the implication, even the idea that, because what's happening now, if you see a lot of these government officials, even in different states, they're starting to backtrack. Do you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. They're starting to say, hey, this was voluntary because we're actually seeing that we're actually wrong and we're going to get sued. So they're backtracking. That's what they're doing right now. And so
do you know, I don't know if you know this, Eric, the Utah Association of Counties, guess who the largest member of that organization is, with the largest population, with the largest dues paid to that organization, is the Utah Association of Counties. Who would that be?
I don't know.
Largest member of Utah's Association of Counties, Salt Lake County. Okay, Salt Lake County.
Okay.
So they are the elephant in that room, and drive a whole lot of the policies that come out of the Utah Association of Counties. So they actually, in writing, in a letter submitted to the House and Senate leadership and the governor, asked for a moratorium on individuals being able to sue county government. Did you know that? Okay, no, for real. So within just, hours or a couple days of the, go home, lock up, and hide order, also please, Mr. Governor and Mr. Senate President and Mr. Speaker, please also use your two branches of government to throw a wall up against the third branch of government, the judiciary, and please don't let the citizens access recourse, bring redress against their government. Holy cow. That one letter from the Utah Association of Counties, I just, boy, you know what? I need to frame it or something and have that next to the Constitution and say, this is not this. This does not fit
Right.
this. But that, yeah, a group of our local county governments got together and asked the executive branch, the legislative branch, to please stop people from accessing redress through the courts, dispute through the courts, resolution through the courts. And I thought, wow, there's some people in that organization and some members that need to reread the Constitution and revisit why we have separation of powers. That holy cow! I mean, it's almost laughable.
Or read it for the first time.
Oh, no, please. Or read it for the first time.
No, I'm saying no. There's some people that have never read the Constitution.
Well, nobody
And
who's run for public office has not read the Constitution, right?
I don't know. I would argue that.
I'm kidding.
I truly would. I would
kidding.
argue that.
I'm kidding, and I probably think you're right. So, but yeah, that was such an affront. I mean, such an affront. I think to very basic constitutional principles of separation of powers. But I do hope on the other side of this, people will continue to ask the question: can the government do this? Better yet, should the government do this? And
Yeah, the answer is no.
the-
Why would the government want that kind of liability? It's like, look, here's our recommendation. You guys, okay, we know now that there's a certain age. We know that there's a certain condition. This is very dangerous. Here's our recommendation. That it should have been a memo. That's what it should have been. It should have been a memo.
Well, so I do think that this is a situation that has evolved so quickly, and we've been responding from the beginning, and we're learning more and more every day. We're learning maybe the threat isn't as concerning as it was originally. Data has been flawed from the beginning. We do know there are particularly bad actors from the beginning and kind of through the information dissemination chain that there's been a lot of reliance on sources of information that have not had integrity and honesty and
Right.
did not have the interest of people and nations and individuals and did not have anybody else in mind or anyone's consideration. So we have been responding. Initially, we responded out of fear, and fear is a powerful, powerful motivator, a very powerful driver. And now it's time to make decisions. And I said this in my convention speech that Winston Churchill said, that frequently we react to fear, but then there's a decision-making point, and that is courage. And to be able to move from reactionary fear to decision-making courage, that's really what we need right now. And I think we've seen that among a lot of our leaders. I think even our own governor, he didn't issue mandates. He just reminded us of what some of the risks are, and of course we're still learning those true risks. But he didn't shut down the state, but he did encourage some more healthful practices, limiting the spread of disease. We did see our local county mayor take that a lot further. Salt Lake City mayor take that a lot further. And interesting, you point out there is kind of a dichotomy in which governments go further, which ones go less. But so now we're here, and it was, I don't know, we really haven't been going through this very long. Are we about 6 weeks into this? And probably halfway through, we really started thinking strongly about, okay, the response could have worse consequences than the actual consideration of the virus itself. And now we're really kind of on the other side of that, going, okay, it just, we really are starting to feel those consequences and have a lot of concern, like you said, even mental health concerns. So, but let's talk about the economy. We had Steve Moore on last week, who is a close advisor to President Trump, an economic policy advisor. He joined my team about 2 months ago, actually approached me and asked if I would be willing to accept his good counsel on my team. So very pleased with that. But yeah, he discussed a lot about the need to get the economy reopened and some of the real impacts here. So you are doing something Saturday.
And so are you. So
Okay, tell us about what you're doing Saturday.
So my idea was with the Utah Business Revival, and you can go to our webpage, utahbusinessrevival.com, to sign up for alerts, because right now Facebook is really going after us. But so what we're doing, my idea was that we were going to get a whole bunch of people at once, and we were going to work with city mayors across the state, especially once kind of the dust settles and we see the economic ramifications. We were going to go in huge groups and invite businesses to come, kind of like a flea market, social distancing, safe environment where a whole bunch of people at one time can help these businesses that have been completely, the non-essential businesses. We're going to help them, and we're going to do it in mass amount of numbers. We're going to have music. It's going to be more of a celebration. Like, that's what I really look at this. It's a celebration. It's not a protest. It's a celebration to bring hope to these businesses. We're going to have speakers like yourself come, and we're going to talk about principles of liberty. We're going to talk about principles of freedom. We're going to talk about the proper role of government, and we're going to have an open dialogue conversation. Anybody is welcome from any side of the political aisle. I don't care who you are. This isn't a Trump rally. This isn't a Republican rally. This is a principle rally. And the idea is, if you believe that our economy is just as important as life itself, because literally our economy produces life. It produces a way that we can provide for our families to eat food that will allow our vital organs to move still. And if we don't have that ability, in other words, what's the point of trying to save life if we can't even live life, right? And we can do this immediately in a very safe environment. Look, if we can go into Costco and be standing in these weird, this lady in Costco the other day had a sign, and it said 6 feet away, 6 feet away, and she was coming closer to me, and I'm like, what are you doing with the sign? And I'm like, you're now in my space with your sign. Look, if we can do it there, we can do it in every single business in Utah. That's the truth.
Okay, so are you suggesting we defy the health recommendations on Saturday?
Well, there is none in Utah County, because Utah County they're not the ones stopping nail salons and massage therapists.
Okay, but we do know there are health recommendations to limit the spread of the disease. 6 feet apart, try not to really congregate.
We're calling for 7 feet.
Okay.
So we're up in the ante. We're safer than the grocery store.
Okay.
So we're not going to force social distancing. The reason why we're not going to force that is because nobody can, including the government. But we are grown adults.
Okay, so you are still encouraging. You're still encouraging 7 feet. And okay, so tell us where this is.
So we're gonna announce it on our Facebook page in a couple days. But just, you have to follow the Facebook page, which is Utah Business Revival. And since Facebook has kind of suppressed it's really, I don't even want to get into this whole thing with Facebook, but it's like, you're going to have a platform allow groups like Occupy Wall Street to get millions and millions big, and then to actually destroy the economy. And then you're going to not allow a group that wants to have a safe social distancing event to build up small business. You're going to suppress that. Tell me what country we live in. Anyway, sorry.
Okay, so there's going to be food?
Yeah, there's going to be food. The businesses that are there are going to be open. There's going to be.
And you're going to have, are you going to have food trucks?
Yes, food
Okay,
trucks will be there.
so because I got to put in a plug again for
Okay.
some of my deregulating efforts in the as a Utah legislator. Food trucks were being killed by excessive and redundant and piled on regulations. If you had a food truck that went to one city and one county for breakfast and another one for lunch and another one for dinner, they were having to have different permits and licenses all over the place. It was putting them
So
all out of
wrong.
business. They just couldn't do it. So Senator Henderson sponsored legislation. I was her House sponsor on that to remove some of this redundancies and some of the redundancies and have some license and health certificate reciprocation, so they didn't have to do it all over the place. But if your truck is clean and it's healthy and it's safe in one county, then let's recognize that it's clean and safe and health in another county, and we dealt with the business licensing on the local issues. But so I love to see food trucks and I love to support their business, and so
Yes.
glad to hear that. I just have to
Yeah,
throw that
absolutely.
in.
I think we have like five. I think we have 5 food trucks that have signed up. And then we're going to have music. We're going to have speakers. I think we have 4 Utah House of Representatives that are now speaking.
Can you say who they are?
Um,
Are they
Phil Lyman,
okay?
for sure. Paul
Washington
Cousins,
County. Okay.
Paul Cousins, the Iron County Commissioner, is coming.
Commissioner. Okay.
Greg Hughes is going to join us.
Okay.
But anyone's invited. So depending, I don't care if you're a Democrat or Republican, it doesn't matter. You're invited to come. You
I'm
can
going to
bring
have a booth. I'm going to have a booth,
Yeah,
so come see me
great.
there. And I think we're probably going to do some live stuff there. So if you want to come over to my booth and talk about your business, promote your business, I don't think anything stops that, does it? Is we have any issues with that? I'll put you
No,
on
we also have somebody who donated masks. So
masks. So a
if you
couple hundred, 300 masks were donated, right?
yeah,
Okay.
so it's like, look, if you feel comfortable going to Costco, you're absolutely going to feel comfortable coming here.
Okay. Let's give props to the mayor.
Oh, absolutely, Julie Fulmer. So everybody's afraid right now, right? And my big angst has been leaders. When I say leaders, what I mean is representatives, right? Because I don't like to use the word leader, even though when somebody actually leads, then I will say they're a leader. But I just haven't seen a lot of leaders in the state of Utah, and it's really alarming to me because everybody's scared. Everybody's afraid. They know what they need to say, but they're afraid to say it, and they can't. And so then what happens is they start attacking people that are saying the things that they want to say. Right? That's what's happening. And so Julie Fulmer she's amazing. I mean, her city is small, I think 15,000 people, but when I told her the idea, she's like, "Yes, absolutely. We need to help these businesses." That was the very first reaction, and I think that's the reaction everybody has, but then what happens is fear sinks in and then they shrink. And so America right now is shrinking, and we need to come out with faith, and we need to know that everything's going to be okay.
So, will there be haircuts there?
Yeah, there's going to be some barbers there, but in Utah County, you can do that.
You can do it anyway in
And
Utah County.
so
Gee, wait, Utah
we're trying
County
to,
is right next to my Salt Lake County. What's the difference? Is there a wall
well,
or
it's
something
politics.
where the disease can't cross the county line?
Yeah.
Does COVID say, "Oh
Hey,
wait,
stop
we're in
thinking.
Utah
Stop
County
thinking.
now"?
Stop thinking. You're using your brain. Stop it. Stop thinking right now. It's unacceptable to
There's
think.
a hotline for that. Somebody's
Look,
gonna-
this is the bottom line. Elections have consequences, and so every single person in the state, every single person that can vote for Kim Coleman, I admonish you, do this. We have to have Kim Coleman as our representative representing the state of Utah. It's an absolute must. And not only you, tell your friends. Okay, she's proven herself. She's gone through the process. She knows how it works. And I'm telling you, working with her side by side, listening to her, watching her, I am 100% confident that she is going to represent our state in a way that hasn't been represented in a long time.
Well, thank you so much. That means a lot because, as you said, you don't necessarily get behind candidates. You get behind causes, and they're causes that I've respected over time. And you are a citizen freedom fighter, and I've been very pleased and honored to work alongside you, Eric, on several issues. And they are at their core, they're about freedom, they're about liberty, and that is always at risk. It is always a necessity that we stay hypervigilant and we constrain our government. And whether that's through elections or whether it's through the stuff like you're doing on Saturday, and I'm grateful to have that invitation there, be hypervigilant. So I'm going to put in a plug for Mayor Trent Staggs of Riverton is running for Salt Lake County Mayor. We need to do that. We have not had great conservative leadership in the executive office of Salt Lake County, probably as long as I can remember. So we need to make some significant changes there. And yeah, I would love your support in this race. We have a primary in 5 weeks, so I'd really love your support. If you like what you hear, if you like my record, and you want me to take that to DC, then please sign up to help us. Okay, I got to put out some information. Eric, what can you tell us about where this event is? Can you share that yet?
Just sign up at utahbusinessrevival.com and sign up for that RSVP, and you'll get an email exactly where it's at. The reason why we're not saying exactly where it is because there's a lot of opposition trying to attack, and it's just we're going to announce it later, and so it's just look, Vineyard's not very big, so just get to Vineyard.
Get to Vineyard. All righty.
At noon, at 12 o'clock to 4 o'clock, noon to 4.
Okay, that is Facebook, Utah Business Revival. So find Eric there, find
.com.
.com, and then the Facebook page as well. So, okay, we have a new YouTube channel. I've got lots of content on an old one, but we're kind of putting fresh stuff on there. So you're always welcome.
I know, I was your second subscriber.
Oh, were you? Nice. Yeah, so
Number
this
2.
one, will have more targeted and specific congressional race stuff, but you're free to go through all my old stuff because what you'll find is I haven't changed. My principles have been solid for a long time, and you can go on my Facebook and see what I've been fighting for years. You can know that exactly who I am. So subscribe at Kim for Utah on YouTube, Kim for Utah, and click the bell for notifications so you get our notifications for this. So anything else you want to say, Eric? What do people, give us the hopeful words here.
I would just say that light always conquers darkness, and that we each need to be the light. When people say that, hey, we just need to have faith, there's nothing we can do. My answer to that is that faith is action. And if we're not taking action steps in what we believe, then it's not true faith. We just kind of have a belief hope. And so we have to exercise our rights in order to keep them. And when we exercise them, other people will see that they're exercising them. And then we come together really quick. And that's why we, the people, are so important in this process, because that's who it is. It's us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm grateful for citizens like you who do exercise courage to say maybe what sounds unpopular right now, or to sound alarms that, like you said in the beginning, you might be early on it and you might be tip of the spear, but we need citizens to be engaged. And for me, reaching out to, if I'm your representative like you did, and you reached out to me and said, we have a problem, can you help me solve it? Here's my idea. That's really how government works best. And I thank you for sharing that, Eric. So because I I want people to know that I am responsive as a representative and will be responsive as a representative. But you have led out on a lot of things that have just needed attention, need people talking about it, and now you're acting on it. And so, okay, so go to those places and find us there, and then look for me on Saturday too. We'll be there. What's the time? Can you share that, or do you?
Yeah, noon to 4.
Noon to
we're going
4.
to start the speeches around 12:30. We're going to start the
Okay.
speeches around 12:30.
Okay, so find me out there too in Vineyard, wherever it's going to be, in our secret place.
Yeah, in the
To be
secret
announced.
center. In the secret center of Vineyard.
All righty. Well, thank you so much, Eric, for joining me tonight. And thank you all for listening. And throw us any questions. Please comment. And join me also at kimforutah.com to follow my campaign and offer any support. We need your help. And we got 5 weeks till primary. And so go to kimforutah.com and let us find you.
Woohoo!
And
Go, Kim.
all righty. Thank you so much, and have a good evening.